So apparently, when two adults end a relationship after 7 or 8 months of dating, it's now considered socially acceptable to walk away from your career obligations. Quick heads up before we get into this. If you tend to get emotionally reactive over celebrity commentary, this video probably isn't for you. Feel free to exit now and come back when you're in a better headspace. Because what we're about to discuss goes deeper than just another celebrity breakup. There are real behavioral patterns here worth examining, and this channel doesn't sugarcoat things. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into it. By now, you've probably heard that rapper Megan Thee Stallion is going through a very public and dramatic split. She was in a relationship with four-time NBA champion Klay Thompson for roughly 8 months, and when things didn't work out, she didn't handle it quietly. According to what surfaced online, Megan went public with the breakup, claiming Klay wasn't committed to monogamy and had what she described as cold feet, strongly suggesting she was pushing for something more serious, possibly a proposal or a deeper commitment, and Klay simply wasn't on the same page. Now, let's think about this for a second. We're talking about a high-net-worth professional athlete with plenty of options. That kind of man doesn't rush into lifetime decisions based on pressure or timeline expectations, especially after less than a year of dating. There's a fundamental difference in mindset between a man who needs a relationship for stability and a man who is already established and moves on his own terms. Trying to fast-track a commitment with someone in that position rarely ends the way people hope. But instead of keeping it private, Megan took to social media and got the entire world involved, seemingly in an effort to control the public narrative and rally sympathy from her fan base. Then, at her very next Broadway performance following that announcement, she was seen crying on stage in front of the audience, and predictably, a large portion of her fans ate it up completely. Rational, grounded observers, however, saw it for what it was, a calculated, emotional moment designed to generate sympathy and keep the story alive. And sure enough, it worked. Rock Nation appears to be managing this entire storyline with precision because major outlets from the BBC to the New York Times picked up the story. And yes, the New York Times, one of the most established publications in the world, ran coverage on a celebrity breakup. That alone tells you something about where media standards currently stand. Shortly after all of this, Megan Thee Stallion officially announced she would be cutting her Broadway run short. On April 27th, she announced that her final performance in the Broadway production of Moulin Rouge the musical would be May 1st, ending her run more than 2 weeks early, with her original end date set for May 17th. For context, when she first landed the role, it came with a full PR campaign celebrating the milestone. Megan had been cast as Harold Zidler, the flamboyant nightclub owner, a role that had historically been played exclusively by men. She was promoted as the first woman ever to take on that character, and it generated considerable buzz at the time. When she made her exit announcement, she kept the tone gracious. She posted to her fans, writing, "Hotties, my last performance at Zidler in Moulin Rouge will be May 1st. It's been such an honor to be a part of the Moulin Rouge family, and I've met so many amazing people in this theater." She expressed genuine appreciation for the cast and crew and thanked the fans who had supported her throughout the run. The problem, of course, is that fans who had already purchased tickets for dates after May 1st are now out of luck. They bought those tickets expecting to see her perform, and she won't be there. And while the official story ties her early exit to the emotional weight of the breakup, it's worth noting that something else was already happening behind the scenes. A few weeks prior, Megan was actually rushed to the hospital in the middle of a performance after falling ill on stage. She later said it was due to exhaustion. Some of her more devoted fans speculated it might have been something else entirely, but exhaustion was the official explanation given at the time. Whether the early departure is truly about the breakup, her health, or a combination of both, the show, as they say, will go on without her. I use the word delusional deliberately here, because think about it. Why would anyone genuinely wish for a woman to be pregnant by a man she isn't married to after being together for only 7 months? That's not support. That's not loyalty.
That's a complete disconnect from reality. These are people who have no real stake in this situation, yet they're emotionally invested to a concerning degree. And speaking of concerning, she was rushed to the hospital around the end of the first week of the Broadway run, so the health issues started almost immediately after the show began. But let's talk about these so-called supporters for a moment, because there's something deeply ironic happening here. The same people flooding social media defending Megan and rallying behind her drama are the same people who never actually buy her music. Her album numbers don't reflect this massive, passionate fan base they claim to be. They show up for the controversy, the gossip, the public meltdowns, but not for the actual art. That tells you everything about the nature of that relationship. And now those same people have turned their attention toward Klay Thompson. All week long, they've been flooding his social media pages, leaving threatening comments, wishing injury on him, calling for his career to be ruined. People openly saying they want him to tear his ACL, they want him to lose his endorsements, lose everything. That level of hostility towards someone simply because he chose not to stay in a relationship is genuinely alarming. And honestly, Klay, this is a situation you could have avoided entirely. When you move in certain circles and engage in certain environments, you expose yourself to the chaos that comes with it. You're an established, high-caliber individual, and those worlds operate very differently from what you're used to. You stepped outside your lane, and now you're experiencing the consequences that come with that territory. Just last month, these same people thought he was wonderful. They were fully on board with the idea of Megan being welcomed into his world. But the moment he made a decision for himself, a decision that had nothing to do with any of them, they flicked entirely. Because what this was really about, underneath it all, was access. His rejecting the relationship cut off the proximity they were hoping to gain through her. That's what this anger is really rooted in. Let's be honest about what reportedly happened here. After several months together, she started asking where things were headed. He made it clear he wasn't looking to take things further than where they already were. And when they realized they couldn't push a man of his financial standing, someone who earned roughly $300 million in NBA salary throughout his career, with additional income from investments and insurance, into a rushed commitment, the narrative shifted to him being the villain, as if a man isn't entitled to make his own choices about his own life. That's the part that gets overlooked in all of this. Nobody stopped to consider that he has every right to decide what he wants and doesn't want from a relationship. Instead, there's this expectation that the outcome should have been different, and that entitlement is driving all of this outrage. Now, with Megan leaving the Broadway show early, the general assumption is that she's emotionally drained from the breakup. And maybe there's some truth to that, but it's also worth pointing out that she showed signs of exhaustion almost from the very beginning of the run. The hospital visit happened in the first week, so blaming it entirely on the breakup doesn't tell the complete story. And here's the honest observation. Using this breakup as a reason to exit a commitment she only had a few weeks left on is a choice. She was close to the finish line. Whatever was weighing on her was clearly present long before this split became public. Looking at the bigger picture, it seems like before Megan can genuinely move forward and find stability, some real internal work has to happen, not for anyone else's benefit, but for her own. The patterns that keep showing up in her public life, the conflict, the chaos, the emotional instability, those don't resolve themselves on their own. They follow you until you decide to address them at the root. The question is whether she's willing to do that, whether she's willing to step out of the victim narrative, take accountability for her role in the situation she finds herself in, and make some genuine changes. Because without that, history tends to repeat itself. The same circumstances, the same outcomes, just different faces and different stages. That's where things stand right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think about all of this.